Welcome to the ASUS Trifecta feature overview video. The ASUS Trifecta is a 16 HP Eurorack effects processor with 3 serial effects. It has a stereo in and a stereo out, over 20 effects. It's got 8 CV inputs, a clock input for tempo synced effects, a ducking input for sidechain style dynamics, 20 user presets, and we'll be shipping a handful of factory presets with it as well. Each effect has up to 8 parameters, which are split into 4 main parameters and 4 alternate parameters. The CV inputs can modulate one or more of the 8 parameters in any of the 3 slots, plus a couple of the global parameters. There's an envelope follower, which also can modulate those parameters. The home screen of the ASUS Trifecta has the preset name in the upper left, a main or alt parameter indicator in the upper right. It lists the 3 effects. It has an input and an output meter on the bottom and a BPM meter in the lower right corner if you're using an external clock. You can select the active slot by using the up and down arrows. And there are 2 ways to select an effect. If you use the left and right arrows, you select an effect immediately. Each time we select that effect, it's automatically loaded. If you want to select an effect but skip over the ones that you don't want to have loaded while you're loading it, you can hold the shift and the arrows. You can see that these blink, showing you that we're in what we call the deferred effect selection. Let go of the shift button and your effect is now selected. If you want to bypass a effect, you can use shift edit and you'll see the line going through the name indicating that it is bypassed. You can toggle between the alt and main parameters using the alt button. We'll see in the upper right corner here that we switch between alt and main. Each effect takes a certain amount of CPU power, and you could have a combination of effects that exceeds the available amount of CPU power. If that's the case, you'll see an X through the effect name, and that'll allow you to either change the other ones to allow enough CPU for that one, or choose a different one than the one you chose that's overusing it. Also, there are 2 quick option features that you can use from this screen. One's called the quick settings, and one is called the quick modulation source configuration screens. We'll talk about those a little bit later. You can edit any of the 8 parameters for a given effect by turning the knobs here while you're on the home screen. That'll bring up what we call the single knob view. The single knob view has the name of the parameter in the upper left there. Below that is the value of the parameter. Below that is whether it's the main or alt parameter, and below that is the name of the effect. Currently, with the value bit parameter being inverted and the circle here on the screen, we know that the knob position doesn't match the current parameter value. This is called chase mode. When you turn the knob to match the actual parameter value, it locks, and the value is now normal, and that circle is not shown. On this screen, as we saw, there was a chase indicator. There's also the knob position, which is this long line, and then the short little line that you're seeing moving there is actually modulation, in this case CV, being added to the parameter value. If we don't move a knob for 2 seconds, it goes back to the home screen. You can swap between the main and alt parameters here, as we can see, by pressing the alt button. From the home screen, we can go to the parameter screen, which allows us to see all 4 of the parameters for the given main or alt page that we're looking at for that effect. Pressing the edit button from the home screen will bring up the parameter screen. As we can see here, we can see all 4 knobs for main. If we hit alt, we can see all 4 knobs for the alt set. We also see the names of the parameters under each of the knobs, and in a similar way that we saw the value being inverted when the knob position doesn't match the parameter position, the name text is inverted. If we press and hold the shift key, we can see the values for all 4 of those as well. Turning any knob will bring up the single screen just like we saw from the home screen. And not doing any adjustments for 2 seconds, we'll go back to the parameter screen. Going back to the home screen, we'll show the quick settings menu and the quick modulation source config screen. To get into the quick settings menu, we're going to hold shift and press settings and the down arrow. Then we can use the up and down arrows here to select what we want to do. There's none, which means we don't want to do anything. The second option is set to defaults. This is going to set all of the parameters for the active effect to its default values. All to defaults will set the default parameters for all of the effects to the defaults, and clear effects will set all the effect slots to none. Releasing the shift and settings button will actually execute that function. The other quick config option is the quick modulation source config. This is accessed similarly to the quick settings menu. We're going to go ahead and press and hold shift and settings. In this case, when we turn a knob, it's going to bring up the quick source config here. Now this is used to configure what modulation source is controlling this parameter. We can see the name of the effect, flanger. We can see the name of the parameter, speed in this case, and we can see the current modulation source for it, in this case CV3. By turning a different knob, we can switch to a different parameter that we want to adjust, and by pressing the Alt key, we can swap back and forth between the Alt and main parameters. Similar to the single knob view, we have a chase indicator here on the bottom that lets us know the physical knob position does not match the current setting. This gets shorter as you get close to the actual setting and disappears when you're locked in, and now we can adjust it. The quick modulation source config is also available from the parameters screen. Next, we'll look at the settings menu. The settings menu is available by pressing the settings button. This is a series of screens that you can scroll through left and right. This first one is called the mix screen. It's going to give us the wet-dry parameters for all three slots, plus the output gain. So knobs 1, 2, and 3 control the wet-dry for slots 1, 2, and 3. And knob 4 is going to control the output gain. As usual, that single knob view will time out after 2 seconds, returning you to the screen you were coming from. So here we can use the left and right arrows to move through the different screens. We'll be going through the screens all to the right. So this is the mix screen. Next screen is called the global screen. From this screen, you can adjust the ducking parameters, the ducking amount, and the ducking decay with knobs 1 and 2, and the envelope follower gain with knob 3. The next screen is the modulation config screen. We've already seen this screen when we did the quick modulation source config, but in this case we use arrow combinations to change the source and the destination. So we can change the destination with the up and down here. Here we're going to move through the different parameters for this effect. So speed is 1, depth is 2, time is 3, etc. And we can hold shift and right left arrow to change the sources for that. The up and down will take us through the main ones, and then we go to the alternate ones. The other thing you can get from here, of course, is the global ones. Now we got the global. The global config, we can control the bypass for slots 1, 2, and 3 with CV. We can control the ducking amount and the ducking decay with those modulation sources as well. And then there's a special feature where you can control preset selection using CVA. One of the other things you can do here is use shift and up down, and that will take you through the section. So we're in global. This will take us to FX3, FX2, and FX1. The next screen here on the right is the modulation presets. This is a quick way to set up all of the CVs for controlling the different parameters really quickly. Here is up and down arrows take us through the different selections. Currently we have 7 different selections plus a clear. So if you want to get rid of all of the modulation sources, you can use clear. If you want to select CV 1 through 4, control the main parameters of slot 1, and CVs 4 through 8, control the main parameters for slot 2. You will select FX1 and 2 for mains. That's the same for doing 2 and 3 and 1 and 3. If you want to control all of the parameters for a given slot, 1 through 4 for the main and 4 through 8 for the alternates, you can select the FX1 all, FX2, or FX3 all selections here. As usual, pressing Shift Enter for one of these options will do the thing, and highlights it just a moment to let you know that it's been done. The next screen over is the CV meters. This gives us a nice view of the values we're getting in from our CVs. I should say the mod meters gives us our CVs plus E there near at the end. That's our envelope follower. And the last one is D for ducking. So if you have an audio source going into the ducking input, you'll see what that is set to. This helps you fine-tune the settings for these parameters as well. The next screen is the logo screen. Got our logo, ASUS Trifecta, plus the current version number of the firmware you're running. This is useful when deciding whether you need to do a firmware update or not. Lastly is the firmware update screen. From this screen here, you will press Shift and Enter to go into the firmware update mode. Those instructions are available in the manual how to do the firmware update. Once you've gone into the firmware update mode, you can't do anything else with the module unless you've done the firmware update or if you reboot the module itself. Going back to the home screen, we can hit the settings button and that will take us back to the home screen. Lastly, we'll talk about presets. One thing to consider with presets is that there is what we call the active state or the active preset and the preset library. So once you've loaded in a preset, that's copied into the active state. Any changes you make to this preset will automatically be saved into the active state, but not yet saved into the preset. This allows you to make changes and not lose the settings you had in your preset. Also, this is what is restored when you turn the module off and turn it back on. It reloads that active preset. If you change any parameter or make any changes to the preset itself, in the upper right corner, after about 5 seconds, you'll see a little square appear and shrink there, and that lets you know that the autosave has been done. So all of the changes you made will be saved into that active preset. To load a new preset, we can press the preset button. This takes us to the load page. Using the left and right buttons, we can select which preset we want to load. And then, as in a lot of the other screens, using Shift Enter is our kind of our do it button. That will go ahead and load the preset. You can see we've loaded that preset up there. So going to the Save menu, we press this preset button to the Load menu, and then we press it again to the Save menu. This is kind of like a double click. If you want to just go to Save, you can think of it that way. This preset button is active on most screens, and you should be able to, again, get to the preset library very quickly from anywhere you want. So from the Save menu, just like with the Load menu here, we can use the left and right buttons to decide which one we want to save into. If we want to edit the name, we press the Edit button. That takes us down to the name editor. The name editor is easy to use. You can move left and right using the left and right arrow keys, and you can change characters by using the up and down buttons here. The characters are arranged with all the capitals together, all the lowercase together, and then the numbers, and then symbols. So if we were to scroll through these, we eventually get to Z here, and then we go to the numbers, as you can see, and vice versa when we're going down. There is an auto repeat, so if you press and hold, it's going to scroll for us like so. And if you want to jump between groupings, you can hold Shift and up and down. So that takes us to 0, takes us to the symbols, takes us to the capitals, and takes us back to the lowercase. There we go. When you're done, press Shift Enter, just like we normally do. And to do the save from here, also we press a Shift Enter. We'll see up in the top of the home screen here, the saving indicator that let us know it was saving into that particular preset. That covers our quick overview of all the features. If you want to go more in depth to all of that, you can go out to the olliemodular.com website and read the manual from there. We also have a quick start guide available from there, and also a manual for all of the parameters for each of the effects. So hope you enjoyed this video and that you find it helpful. We'll see you online.